BBOR, Black Box Online Radio, coming to you from West Virginia. Today we're going back to the year 2004 to look at the life and times of an individual named Daniel Huffman. Yesterday on the channel we were talking about Derek Thomas, the football player who was with the Kansas City Chiefs. And I mentioned that I was remembering some of the times that I was watching football with my grandmother, and that's how we bonded growing up. And I just said, I was in the mood to watch that movie about the teenager that donates his kidney to his grandmother. At first, I couldn't even remember the title, so I got on Google, and I was looking for it, and it's called A Gift of Love, the Daniel Huffman story about a teenage student in Illinois who wants to donate his kidney to his grandmother because she needs a transplant. But if he does that, he will have to give up playing high school football, as well as possibly a career in football, going to the collegiate level and then to the NFL. And yes, it's called A Gift of Love. So I was able to find that, watch that last night. But while I was just looking for a copy of the movie, I came across countless articles that are talking about the death of Daniel Huffman in 2004. Daniel Huffman died from a gunshot wound to the head, which appears to be self-inflicted according to the coroner's report. But the thing is, though, no suicide note was left behind, and a lot of people are just even in shock to this day. The family members say that they cannot comprehend it or get over it. Daniel showed no signs of being suicidal. Even his roommate, who was living with him at the time, just said there was absolutely no evidence that this was ever going to be a suicide. And I'm not saying anything to the contrary. It's just that the family just feels very shocked and surprised even years later. To help us out with this discussion, we're going to be looking at an article from the Orlando Sentinel. And this is by Alan Schmadtke and from December 10th of 2004. As college football celebrated the biggest night of its sport, Thursday, at Walt Disney World, Florida State mourned the loss of one of its more courageous and kind-hearted souls to ever go through the program. Former FSU student Daniel Huffman, for whom coach Bobby Bowden arranged a scholarship after he learned Huffman gave up his high school football career by donating a kidney to his ailing grandmother, died Monday, that's talking in 2004, of an apparent self-inflicted gunshot wound in Normal, Illinois. He was 25. Huffman's roommate found him in the garage of their rented house, and McLean County Coroner Beth Kimmerling said there were no signs of foul play or third-party involvement. I'll never believe he shot himself, Huffman's grandmother, Shirley Allison, told Danville Commercial News. Shirley Allison is, of course, the grandmother who received the kidney from Daniel Huffman. Bowden met Huffman in 1996 at the College Football Awards show in Orlando. Huffman, a Rossville, Illinois native, was honored with the first Disney-wide World of Spirits Award for donating his kidney to his grandmother. The former lineman gave up his football career at Rossville Alvin High School when he agreed to save Allison's life by giving her the kidney. Interviewed at the awards show 8 years ago this week, Huffman said his favorite team was Florida State. Bowden took note and soon thereafter arranged for Huffman to get a scholarship as a student trainer. Huffman worked as a trainer for a while, then as a student equipment manager, and later as a sports information office intern. Daniel always seemed to be so full of life. He seemed to radiate light and kindness. Sports Information Secretary Lynn Hobby said in an email announcing Huffman's death. The only thought that came to mind was Daniel didn't save any light for himself. And then there you have it right there. Other than that, it's like that line right there. The only thought is that he didn't save any light for himself. Other than that, they really just do not seem to know what could have been the motivation for Daniel's suicide. But this is something that I think is very valuable to talk about because we never know exactly what someone else is thinking. And Agatha Christie even wrote that in one of her plays, The Mousetrap. You never know what anyone is thinking or what anyone is really like. People can hide things. And we often talk about one of the lines on the channel, my favorite line even to dedicated BBOR listeners, being weird is not a crime. That's something that I like to say. And that might be talking about some more true crime events. This is the other side of that. It's that sometimes everything can appear to be perfectly fine and perfectly normal, but in reality, it is not. And people can hide things. And the whole point of that is whether you're going to look at somebody, maybe you think that, wow, that person's really weird, maybe they're guilty of this criminal behavior, or it's the other side of the equation, everything seems fine, but in reality it is not. The point is, appearances are skin deep. That was very cliched, but I mean, that's true. People can hide things, and we don't always get answers. And Gus Van Sant was even talking about that once, the filmmaker. Sometimes you just don't get closure. And that's what the family of Daniel Huffman was really dealing with, because he had such a powerful story. And I watched the film A Gift of Love last night. I actually got it on the app Tubi, Tubi. First time I ever used that one. I've seen it recommended to me for a lot of things, but it was the first time I ever downloaded it. It's completely free. It seems rather excellent. I'm going to be using that in the future. But yes, I watched it. It features Eldon Henson, who plays Daniel Huffman, and he's an actor that I think a lot of people probably wouldn't think about too frequently. But Eldon Henson was, of course, in The Mighty Ducks and The Mighty Ducks and The Mighty, right? If you haven't seen The Mighty with Kieran Culkin and Eldon Henson, highly recommend that. James Gandolfini is also in that one, and Sharon Stone. I love that film as well. But, it's a great film. It's a heartwarming story. And I think the Hallmark Channel even had something to do with the production of the film, A Gift of Love. Some of the posters just say Gift of Love. But it's all exploring this journey about how a teenage boy pretty much just becomes consumed with the idea of finding his grandmother a kidney transplant. That just becomes like his sole focus. And then he realizes that he can be an eligible donor. And he goes through some rough things, even just sleepless nights, pain and agony after the kidney has been taken out. They aren't even able to get him his painkillers, and just like going through a lot of torment and trouble. And I don't think that was ever connected to the suicide. Absolutely not, because that was all 8 years prior, and I mean that was definitely not connected to the suicide. But those are just some of the hardships that Daniel Huffman would have experienced after donating his kidney to save his grandmother, Shirley Allison. But what I would say about this one is, we just don't always know what's going on with other people. And that's why life's a mystery. And in reality, my heart breaks for the family. My heart breaks for somebody like Shirley Allison. And Daniel Huffman had such a great story to tell. There's a reason why they made a movie about him, is because it was an act of courage, selflessness, love. And Bobby Bowden was even saying that very clearly right there when he was saying that it's just they gave him the scholarship because he'd made a selfless act. Once he donated his kidney, he was no longer able to play contact sports because it could have affected even something to the point of even possibly a life-threatening injury could have taken place if he were to continue to go on. But I would just say, though, that there is a blog that was written in 2009, just on Blogspot, that talks about how could this possibly be a murder? Daniel Huffman, murderer-suicide, something called Buzz Linker. And what that is just saying, although they don't have many details, they're just like, gunshot wound to the head, no suicide note, no explanation, no signs of this to the people that knew him, even his roommate who lived with him, who just didn't seem to notice that anything was going on. I mean, someone has just raised the question, and I'm only talking about it because someone else was talking about it, and I don't necessarily know. I mean, the coroner seems very adamant, as you heard there in that article from the Orlando Sentinel, that this is a case of suicide, but at the same time, people are just like, all of these unanswered questions, I don't think that they can ignore them too easily. But yes, Daniel Huffman died. Well, let's first say Daniel Huffman was born on December 24th of 1978 in Florida, and he died on December 6th of 2004, and when he was 25 in Normal County, Illinois. He was buried at Rossville Cemetery in Rossville in Vermilion County, Illinois. So it's like, just heart goes out to the family once again. But like in these events, we also just have to be very, very much aware that we never know when our time is going to come. And also to help us out here, we have an article from FoxNews.com that covered the subject. This is one of the local branches of Fox News, mind you, in Illinois. Daniel Huffman, age 25, was found dead with a gunshot wound to the head Monday at his home in central Illinois. Authorities believe that there was no sign of foul play, and family members and friends are struggling with the possibility that he may have taken his own life. He was always so happy and so fun, Huffman's grandmother Shirley Allison told the Chicago Tribune for Sunday's edition. He put a lot of joy into everyone's life. He was always doing things for you and making you feel so special. Even just reading that now, it's like, oh my goodness. And I mean, you can see why people are just like having these unanswered questions. And the kind of person who donates his kidney to save his grandmother's life, possibly dying from from a gunshot wound to the head, a suicide, heartbreaking. Huffman, a defensive tackle on Rossville's high school football team, decided to put his football gear away in 1996 for his grandmother, whose diabetes left her serious ill and in need of a kidney transplant. She could have waited for a transplant, but Huffman, then 17, did some research and pressed doctors to allow him to be her donor. He loved football, but the sacrifice meant he could no longer play contact sports. Huffman had the surgery the summer before his senior year, and word spread about the boy from Rossville, a town of about 130 miles southwest of Chicago. Sports Illustrated did a story on him, and he was honored with a Disney Wide World of Sports Spirit Award. And that's the thing we read in the Orlando Sentinel that he was given, and then that gave him the opportunity to meet the coach Bobby Bowden. They did something a little bit different in the film, but that film is of course dramatization, and they're adding in their own creative liberties. Huffman didn't think his donation was an act of heroism. If you love someone and you can help them any way you can, you're gonna do it, he told the Associated Press in 1999. Huffman spent 3 years at Florida State, working as an athletic trainer and later in the sports information office. He moved back to Illinois in 2000 after his grandfather died to help care for his grandmother. But I think we should be very clear, though. I think it was in the article from the Chicago Tribune that said, while he was given a full scholarship to Florida State, he did not graduate. And I'm just kind of just stating that there. And by the way, since this case happened in 2004, or like the events took place in 2004, rather, there are a variety of publications that are talking about this. Even something such as Google Groups, like this is some type of forum that is Google Groups. I don't even remember that from that old. But yes, they even had some things to say about Daniel Huffman, and they just wanted to say that his life was turned into a made-for-TV movie because when he was in high school, the football player donated his kidney to his grandmother, saving her life and forever confining him to the sidelines. Now his grandmother has lost her hero. Daniel Huffman, age 25, was found dead from a gunshot wound to the head Monday at his home in Normal, Illinois. But, it's like you really have to wonder, though, what could drive somebody to do that? And the film Permanent Record with Keanu Reeves also explores this subject. That's another one that just explores the subject of, suicide and not getting any answered questions, or getting answers to your questions, rather. The questions are all unanswered. And I think that sometimes in life, we are just going to have to accept that. But this is a story, though, of love, courage, and passion, and family. And then, I think, though, the only thing that we can add on to that is maybe Daniel Huffman showed us that it's also a story of humanity, being human, that nobody is perfect. And when you read these words, though, about how he's trying to help his grandmother, it's just so much pride and love. But at the same time, we always have to be aware that sometimes every time, people are human, and we all have our limitations. And I think that's something that's going to be with us forever. And I'd like to thank anyone who has listened this far. Now we're just going to do a quick word from our sponsors. Yes, that's right. We have sponsors. Flourish Premium Potting Products for all indoor and outdoor plants. When you bring home Flourish Premium Potting Soil, you are ready for almost any planting project, from your front porch to your kitchen window. Just decide what you want to grow, and Flourish Premium Potting Soil will help you succeed. The quality ingredients that go into the true mix have been carefully chosen and blended to give your plants a good start and a long life. Flourish Premium Potting Soil and all Flourish Premium Potting products are available at your local garden section, anywhere garden products are sold, as well as at your local nursery. Flourish Premium Potting Products. GumProcs Brush. GumProcs Brush go-between cleaners are triangular-shaped bristles that remove up to 25% more plaque compared to round bristles. Antibacterial bristles keep brush cleaners between uses. Coated wire for added comfort and a bendable neck make cleaning back teeth easy. A flexible handle for better comfort and control when cleaning hard-to-reach places. Look for GumProcs Brush go-between cleaners at your local drugstore, supermarket, or any mega store where hygiene products are sold. GumProcs Brush go-between cleaners removes up to 25% more plaque. And if anyone would like a segment like that featured on this channel, you can text the word SALES to 304-712-3043. Text the word SALES, S-A-L-E-S, to 304-712-3043. And yes, just a quick note, that's an automated number, so it might take a little bit of time to reply. I mean, we were testing that out. Yes, that is an automated number, so it's going to go through a process. But just to conclude on the death of Daniel Huffman, in tragedy, there's always the possibility that we can learn something new. And if anything, this allowed Daniel Huffman's story to reach a larger audience, the story of giving his kidney to save his grandmother, and more people even began to talk about that act of love and selflessness. And then at the end, we just have to remember that all human beings have their issues, and all human beings have their own problems. But that doesn't mean to tarnish the legacy at all. And we can just think about the act of love that he gave to save his grandmother. What do you have to say about any of the things we've been discussing here? If you have any comments at all, I would love to hear from you in the comments section below. If you like this upload, you can hit the like button, and if you haven't subscribed yet, you're welcome to do so. But most importantly, please drop some comments below so we can continue the discussion. Until next time.